Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we will learn how to design gradients in CSS. Let's start with what is gradient. It is a smooth transition between two or more colors. There are two types of gradients in CSS. First, linear gradient and second, radial gradient. Let's start with linear gradient first. In the linear gradient, the color transition is linear. That is, it can go either up, down, left, right, or diagonal. Let's try an example to understand it better. Let's create a div here. Let's give it an ID, say div1. Let's create two more divs, 2 and 3. So coming here, let's try using this div. Let's give it a width, say 100%. Let's give it a height, say 100 pixels. Let's save it. Let's bring up our code editor here. And let's run this with live server. Now, to give it a gradient, we can use the background property. So let's just use background. And to give it a gradient value, we will have to use linear gradient here because we are designing the linear gradient right now. So this linear gradient method, it accepts at least 3 parameters. So the first one is direction. So let's say to right. So we want a gradient to flow from left to right. Then the next one is first color or the starting color. Let's say F8, 69 and D5, comma, and let's give the second color or the ending color. So hash 5650 and DE. Let's save it. And as you can see here, we've got this gradient which starts from a little pink color and moves toward a bluish purple shade. And this is not half pink and half purple. It is like a smooth transition. It goes from pink. So we've got 100% pink here and it keeps blending with purple. Over here, it's half and half, but it's smooth. It's not a very sharp transition. And then as you keep moving towards the right, you get this purple color. So this was linear and the direction was right. Let's try something different. So let's use our other div. Let's say div2. Let's just copy all this and let's paste it here. So instead of to right, we can give the angle as well. So we have to give angle in degrees. Let's say 45 degree. Let's save it. And as you can see, it's not very clear that the gradient is going diagonally to 45 degrees. It is just because the width is too high. So let's reduce this. Let's say 100 pixels. And as you can see here, this gradient is going from pink to purple, 45 degrees diagonally. Let's give it a margin top just for a bit of separation. Let's say 48 pixels. All right. Similarly, you can change it to anything else you want. Let's say div3. Just paste it here. So instead of 45 degree, you can have 90 degrees as well. Or say 180 degrees. And as you can see, it's moving from top to bottom. So we've got this pink on the top and blue at the bottom. So just give it a try, use different angles, different colors, and design gradients that you like. So moving on to the next one, which is radial gradient. In radial gradient, the color transition is circular. It looks like rings of different colors. Let's try an example to understand it better. Let's just copy this one, comment all these, and let's paste this here. Let's change the width to say 100%, height 100 pixels. And now instead of linear gradient, we will be using radial gradient. So let's add that. So radial gradient function. Right now, let's just give it two colors. So let's say F8, 69, D5. And the second color, 56, 50, and DE. Let's save it. And as you can see, there's this elliptical sort of structure in the center, and it's fading outside into purple color. So by default, it takes this elliptical shape, but we can change it to circle. So for that, we can add another parameter here, say circle. Let's save it. Now, as you can see, the gradient is circular, but it fades all the way to the farthest edge. We can explicitly declare the position value to ensure that the fade ends by the closest edge or the closest side. So let's try that. So right after circle, just give it a space and write closest side. Let's save it. And now as you can see, we've got this circle in the middle of the screen. It also accepts 3 more values. So instead of closest, you can have farthest side. And as you can see, now again it's stretching and fading towards the edges. Similarly, we can have farthest corner. And as you can see, it looks pretty much the same. And then we've got closest corner. Let's save it. And as you can see, it looks pretty much the same. And the reason these values aren't making any difference is because the width is 100% and it's pretty big. And a gradient, it's starting from the center. So by the time it reaches the edges, it fades. Or by the time it reaches the corners, it fades. So let's try changing the width first. So instead of 100%, let's say 200 pixels. Similarly for this, 200 pixels. Let's save it. And as you can see, this is how the closest corner look. So let's try changing it to farthest corner. Let's try changing it to farthest side. Let's try changing it to closest side. Now let's try changing the position. So instead of this closest and farthest side, let's write at. So we specify where. So at, say top left. Let's save it. So now as you can see, the center of our gradient is on the top left corner. Similarly, say we wanted it to be at top right. So we could simply change it to top right like this. That's all for today, guys. If there's something that you did not understand, feel free to drop a comment and we will discuss it. See you in the next video. Bye and take care.